Hi, this is Anthony Taggart from theswingengineer.com. Over the next few videos, I'll be explaining power accumulators. What are they, and how do we use them in the golf swing? You may already be familiar with the term power accumulators. They're a concept from Homer Kelley's book, The Golfing Machine. Mr. Kelley had described 4 different ways in which we can move our body and the club in order to power the golf swing. But before I go into those different motions, it's important to start from the beginning and understand the concept as a whole. The power accumulators are part of what Mr. Kelley called the power package. And in his own words, the power package concept isolates and defines the function of the hands and arms in propelling the club head into impact. The power package consists of the arms and the club. Now, before we move on to the power accumulators, there are 2 things to cover. Firstly, the structure of the power package. So let's take a look at a golfer from face on. Here we can create a triangle using the golfer's arms and body. The 3 sides of our triangle are the straight left arm, a line drawn between the shoulders, and finally the distance between the right shoulder and the hands. Mr. Kelley called this the triangle assembly. And like any triangle, we can change its size and shape by altering the length of its sides. However, Mr. Kelley makes clear we should only alter the distance between the right shoulder and the hands. And we do this by bending and straightening the right arm. The second thing to understand before we look at the power accumulators are the lever assemblies. So what is a lever? It's a mechanical device used to change the direction or magnitude of a force. You'll find levers used in all sorts of moving objects, including our own bodies. A lever must consist of 4 things. Firstly, a rigid beam, so a length of solid material. And then at different places along that beam, you'll find a fulcrum, which is a point about which the beam can move, a weight or resisting force, and finally, a location where we input force. There are 3 types of lever, depending on where on the beam we place those different features. A children's seesaw is the first type of lever. Here the weight or resisting force is at one end, the input force is at the other, and the fulcrum is in the middle between the 2. If we swap over the fulcrum and the resisting force, we have the second type of lever. An example of this is a wheelbarrow. Now the fulcrum is at one end, the weight in the middle, and the input force at the other end. Now if we swap around the resisting force and the input force, we have the third type of lever. An example of this is a pair of tweezers. The fulcrum is at one end, the resisting force at the other, and you're providing force somewhere in the middle. And it's this last type of lever we utilise in the golf swing. This lever is also known as a speed multiplier lever. This is because, however fast we move the beam at the input force location, the beam will move faster at the resisting force location. And the greater the distance between the 2 locations, the greater the difference in speed. So with this in mind, where are the levers in the power package? Well, there are 2. The first is called the primary lever assembly. It's comprised of the whole left arm and the club. The fulcrum is the left shoulder, the weight is the golf club, and the input force is located between the 2, provided by the arms or body pushing the left arm and club. The next lever, the secondary lever assembly, is comprised of the left hand, the wrist, and the club. The fulcrum is the left wrist, the weight is the club head, and the input force is provided by the hands. So we've covered the basics of the power package here. In the next video, we'll start to look at the power accumulators themselves. Until then, if you'd like to read more about the power package and other concepts from the golfing machine, you can do so at my website, theswingengineer.com.